So I'm here at the ICT 2018 conference in Vienna with Manuel,
That's correct.
who is a member of the Cabinet for Copyright at the European Commission. So he knows a lot about the copyright directive that's currently going through the trilogue debates. And what I wanted to ask you to begin with was, why do you think the reforms are important for the future of Europe's creative industries?
Well, I think it's very simple. Copyright is really the fuel of artists and of creativity, and those rules have not been updated for the last about 20 years, and it makes them not anymore fit to the digital world we live in. 20 years ago, there was no streaming, there was no peer-to-peer, there was no online sharing services, and so as any piece of law and legislation, from time to time you need to adapt them to new technologies, and this is really what we're doing at the moment.
So we're at the ICT conference, and there's a lot of techies here. What responsibility do you think is on the big tech platforms, Google and Facebook, to help level the playing field between the creators and the online platforms that are sharing the content?
Mm-hmm. Your question is really broader than strictly copyright, because as part of what the Commission has been doing on what we call the digital single market, many of the initiatives that we've been taking have been about leveling the playing field in between newcomers and let's call them old actors of the world. In telecommunications, we've been leveling the playing field in between typically the Skypes and the Vibers of this world, with the telecom operators on audiovisual, the video sharing platforms, with the TV broadcasters. And in the area of copyright, which we're discussing now, it's really about being able to share better the value that is generated by artists in a digital world. Again, in between, on the one side, the creators themselves, whichever category of creators they are, and the platforms.
So there's been quite a lot of opposition to the proposed reforms, particularly online. There's been quite a lot of propaganda videos that have been put out on YouTube. I've heard a lot of scaremongering stories. Is there any truth to this idea that memes are going to be banned, or that people won't be able to make parody videos on YouTube?
Mm-hmm. So no. The very short answer is no. The little bit more developed answer is memes and parodies are protected by another piece of legislation, which is actually this 20 years old piece of legislation I was referring, and we're not touching it. So it's not going to be affected. Now, I think beyond the fact that it's not going to be affected, the fear, there are some doubts that whatever is being discussed now might affect that previous directive. And I think definitely from the Commission side, but as well from the other partners, I believe, who are negotiating this, from speaking with them and interacting with them, I understand. I mean, everybody is very careful at not impeding the uses which are being made today, notably about memes, etc. The Commission uses memes in its own communication as well, and we're all being very careful that the current legislation that protects it is not affected.
Does the technology exist, or can the technology be developed to ensure that? Because a lot of people that I have spoken to have said that they in principle support it, but they don't think that technically it can actually be.
Yeah, I think a lot of the debate is wrongfully concentrated on whether some things can be automated or not. I think it's only part of the debate, and I think the other part is often forgotten and is at least, if not more important, because part of the ongoing discussions are about as well making sure that the platforms and the right holders cooperate and collaborate. And I think this is the part where the fears of over removal of content by platforms for the wrong reasons, because precisely it would be in the case of over removal, are addressed. How can you, as a user uploading your content, make sure that if something was removed, you can interact back with the platform that has done so? And how quickly, how expeditiously, and what would be the mechanism for doing that? A lot of platforms have such type of redress mechanism, you could call it like this, but it's not mandated by law, and so this is something that we want to put in place so that such over removals are properly framed.
Okay, so my final question is about how can we better communicate to people what the copyright directive is and why it's important for their rights as European citizens, because a lot of people are either completely unaware of the proposed reforms or their understanding is very limited and they're being taken in by quite a lot of this propaganda that's being put out on YouTube.
Yeah, well, for you it's easy. You should keep on doing such movies and short videos. But seriously, I think a lot needs to be said. There's a real ongoing debate, and we need to continue it. I think it's important to speak with different actors and players. If there's something I've learned working on copyright and on those questions, is that it's not a simple question. If you think you've understood it through a slogan or 10 seconds, reality is a little bit more complex. Technology is complex. Copyright is complex. It goes from music to movie directors to guild writers to screenwriters to coders, to musicians, to sculptures. It affects very, very many different areas, and so it's very difficult to summarize everything in only a few words or slogans. And so it's important to go and go out there and listen and to understand to different point of views.
All right, thank you. It was lovely to talk to you and very informative.
It was a pleasure, madam.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.